This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 95, a little bit of an abbreviated episode this week. We're just covering the SummerSlam review. We're going to discuss maybe some news and notes, but not too much as we normally give you. John is away on vacation, and he was kind enough to take some time to stop in the studio and record one of these bad boys before he went off to Florida and caught some sun. Cuz, what's going on?
Heck yeah, baby. When it's SummerSlam, you know you got to talk about it. I did get a chance to invest in the show. I didn't watch all of it, and I think one of the things that you can do is, you know what, at the end of the day, if you're going to cut out something, just don't watch the pre-show. I got in right at 7 o'clock, and thankfully, one of the great talking points is they ended it at 10:30, and I think it was great. 3.5 hours. Now, if you did start watching at 5 and you were really all about it, it does go a little bit longer. But from 7 to 10:30, I think it made for a more enjoyable watching experience, especially with, you know, the attention span that people have these days. You know what? You just can't watch 5, 6, 7 hours of wrestling. So for SummerSlam to be that length was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I think that's a talking point right there, is them ending the show at 10:30. I thought that was kind of strange. As it was going along, I was following along, and it got to right around 10:20, and I'm like, well, what's left on the card here? Well, what do we have to expect? And there was nothing. I was shocked. I was like, this is weird. The fact that it ended punctually, I think is nice to see. I don't know if we can expect this for every pay-per-view, though.
Oh, why not? Why do you think 10:30 is not the best time to end? Because of timing and match length and stuff like that?
I just don't know. With WWE, their thing is to get as many viewers as possible, right? Whether that be in the 7 o'clock hour, whether it be in the 8 o'clock hour, the 9 o'clock hour, or even the 10 o'clock hour or the 11 o'clock hour. They want as many viewers as possible. And I just don't know if for them it makes the most sense to end early like that. For the viewer, I think it's perfect. I think it's great. I think it was exceptional that it ended at 10:30, because when WrestleMania goes on forever.
Because if you want to treat it like a sport, all you got to do is have the same content. But the pre-show doesn't need to be an hour or 2 hours long. The pre-show can be half an hour. The pay-per-view can go from 7 to 10:30, lock it down, and then you do a half-hour recap. Where if it does go longer, maybe between 10:30 and 10:40, you just extend it out. Remember, you own the network, so you know the timing. You own the timing. So I think that I would like, after the show is over, maybe you have a couple interviews, you have a couple reaction, you try and get Brock Lesnar to talk after the event. And I think it makes it for fun. Or you have a round table and you go, damn, let's talk about what we just watched. Because after the event at 11, you know what I did? I tuned into Taz and I listened to him recap the show for an hour. So I think that you can sacrifice a little bit of the content, make it a timed event. Because look, you're in control. And there's opportunities when you know you're going to have a squash match like Goldberg to make the event shorter or to be more timely. You got to be a little bit more fan-friendly, especially going into the rest of 2019. You got to do a couple of things maybe different than you've done in the past. And I think timing it out to end around 10:30 for pay-per-views is fine. 2.5. Remember, the In Your Houses, if you remember back in the day, they were only 2.5 hours long.
Yeah,
and
they were short.
It should mean something to get on the pay-per-view. And I just liked the fact that it ended at 10:30. All in all, cuz SummerSlam was good. There were definitely a lot of moments that we're going to gravitate toward and talk about in regards to Seth Rollins winning. Obviously, the entrance of The Fiend. Obviously, Trish Stratus putting on a performance at age 42 versus Charlotte. You saw Kevin Owens mark out and get the biggest ovations, and he destroyed Shane McMahon. All in all, it was good. But at the end of the day, I look at it and I say, it's SummerSlam. So for SummerSlam, you can't have major gaffes. And when you have a major gaffe, it sends the rating down. So I could not give the pay-per-view an A because of the fact that in a major match, the biggest disappointment that you had was the fact that you had a great match. Kofi Kingston was aggressive. He looked good. He looked like he did belong on the level of a Randy Orton. He looked the part. He had the crowd going. It was a great match. It was building up to a great ending. What was it going to be? And you gave us at SummerSlam a double countout? Get the hell out of here. You botched it. The crowd shit on it. They hated it. They were not happy. And I understand what you're trying to do in terms of bringing out this new aggression in Kofi, but the crowd did not like it. They were booing Kofi Kingston. And that's what's going to happen when you disappoint. You could have done it where, hey, Kofi Kingston is aggressive, but have him be disqualified. A double countout is weak. It's horrible. So that was a major gaffe for me. And two, I just felt like Bayley Ember Moon was a throwaway, and it shouldn't have been. Ember Moon's talented. She's got a great entrance, a great presence. You can't have throwaway title matches, and that speaks to how poor the buildup was. Where that match, for that match, I in essence said, "Oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to check my iPhone." I took a break during that match, and that's what speaks to. I think that was the worst match of the night, was the Ember Moon match. So I felt like those two gaffes made the card a B or a B- for me.
Yeah, I think those two matches, both of them, hurt the overall score of SummerSlam. But all in all, I think SummerSlam was a pretty good show. I thought it was decent. I thought it was really highlighted, though, by Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt might be, and you sent me a text message. You said he's a top 5 entrance in all of WWE. I think you said all time.
Yeah, it was crazy because of the fact it was built up. What were we going to expect? And to be honest, there have been some freaky gimmicks and things like that. Most notably for me was Papa Shango. I was freaked out when that dude came out because of the fact, was he the one that put the curse on the Ultimate Warrior and made him like something weird would happen when he put some kind of curse on these wrestlers? So that freaked me out. But I was truly freaked out by that lantern, and I was freaked out by the entrance, the music. I was like, oh, hell no. I don't want to definitely be around when that entrance is happening. So I'm like, oh, heck no. I thought it was a freaky entrance, one in which it was timed perfectly. It culminated the way the music hit. It was crazy. It was crazy stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was a great entrance. I think the Fiend character might be the most over thing in WWE right now. It's probably the best thing right now. They haven't screwed it up. And the hope is that they don't screw this up. I'm not 100% sure where we take this character after we get done with Finn Balor, because Finn Balor is going to go on a little bit of a respite. He's going to take probably 2 months off, so you won't see Finn for a little bit. Hopefully when Finn comes back, he gets to join what is deemed the OC. I think that would be great if the original club and Finn Balor were put together somehow, some way. I think that would be awesome. But as far as Bray Wyatt's character goes, if you follow him on social media, he's been doing this thing where he goes around and essentially he apologizes to everybody. Bray Wyatt goes around and apologizes to everybody that he's either hurt or that he's had an issue with in the past. So I'm curious to see who he's going to get invested with next. And I'm not sure how they're going to do that, because Finn Balor seemed like he was the perfect character for the Fiend to get entwined with, because they had such a massive and at the time it was such a letdown when they had their match take place. What was that? It was I want to say it wasn't WrestleMania. Was it WrestleMania? But it was at one of the major pay-per-views where you had the Sister Abigail versus the Demon character, and it was brutal. It sucked. It was a horrible letdown. It was piss poor is what it was. So it'll be interesting to see how Bray Wyatt's character moves on from Finn Balor, and I'm interested to see what happens with this character going forward.
We all are. I think we all walked away going, dang, you know what? We're all excited. Yeah, that entrance should be reserved for a WrestleMania, should be reserved once or twice every 6 months, because you can't have him do that every single time because of the fact it's so unique. And one of the prominent wrestling hosts thinks that, you know what should happen next for Bray Wyatt is he should terrorize the entire WWE and we should only see that entrance maybe once or twice a year. And it's just make it special. It has the ability to be an Undertaker type, experience. And so I think that this character is unbelievable. And I think you can tell that he is so heavily invested in it. And you can tell that he's torn, that they're playing up this angle that, the Fiend character is taking over Bray Wyatt. And really, it's just a culmination of the Bray Wyatt experience. And what a way, at the end of the day, everybody had huge expectations as to what was going to happen with Bray Wyatt. And how often do we say, there's so much expectation, what's going to happen, and we get let down? This was a case where there was so much expectation, we were all excited to see it, and they delivered. They exceeded our expectations. And I was like, dude, I was freaked out. I thought the entrance was timed perfectly, great production. The lantern was unbelievable. And Michael Cole said it perfectly. He's like, what the hell did we just watch? The crowd went apeshit. Everything went crazy. Yeah, I think they'll revisit it, Bray versus Finn Balor. But at the same time, it was, if you look at Finn Balor's situation, man, he got fed to Bray Wyatt, and that's not where a guy of that caliber is. And for me, not having Roman Reigns or The Miz on SummerSlam was kind of weak. Having Alexa Bliss on the pre-show in a throwaway match was a little bit odd. So there were a lot of misses at the same time. But let's get into some of the hits. Holy cow, cuz at 42 years old, Trish Stratus, give her credit, man. She looked in shape. She had the crowd eating out of the palm of her hands. She was, the match started off slow, a little bit rusty, but at the end of the day, she's 42 and is a part-time wrestler. She hasn't wrestled in many matches in over a decade. So for her to be out there and for her to get that reaction, I thought was awesome. And really, at the end of the day, those that said, oh, give Trish the moment, Vince doesn't ever let the hometown person get the moment, you can't have Trish go over on Charlotte, especially with everyone knowing that it's her last match. Really, at the end of the day, the meaning of that match was a pseudo passing of the torch from a legend to a future legend, and that's how the business will go, that's how the business should go, and that's how it went. That's how professional wrestling goes. At the end of the day, at the Montreal Screwjob, when Vince was answering for it, he said, there's a time-honored tradition when you're leaving a company that you put over the next guy. And that's why Vince did what he did to Brett. And that's why at the end of the day, Charlotte had to get the victory. It was a great match. I loved it start to finish.
Yeah, I thought it was an exceptional match as well. And exactly what you said, right? This is a legend who is wrestling a generational talent. Charlotte is exceptional at everything she does. The way she carries herself, the way she performs in the ring, everything she does. So you have a legend passing the torch on to a generational talent. There were two Hall of Famers in that ring last night, and they were going up against each other. That was a great match. It was fantastic. Charlotte getting the win was the right choice. When I went back and I looked over our predictions, I was like, what the hell were you thinking? Why did you pick Trish? I have no idea why I picked Trish, but it was the right choice for Charlotte to get the W, and it was an exceptional match. It was incredible. Like you said, started a little bit slow, but I think it picked up quickly, and it ended perfectly. I thought it was great, and the crowd loved her. On her way out, they gave her a standing O. I thought it was exceptional. I thought it was great.
And that's why professional wrestling is so awesome in terms of dealing with tradition. Did you agree or disagree with Natty and Becky Lynch starting the show? Because for me, I felt like there was a wasted chance to have a pop, but you could make a case for that match being the opening match because of the fact you wanted to set the tone. But for a submission match, you would think that they would try some different type stuff. At the end of the day, all they did was each other's moves, and then they executed it. They executed their own submissions. It was a submission match, which should have a connotation that these women have a broad range of submissions to try. They didn't go that route, and I felt like to start the show, it fell a little bit flat. I just think that they could have handled it much better, or not even really have a submission match, have a different kind of match. That match probably deserved to be like a street fight or a no DQ or maybe even a cage match. A submission match executed that way left really a disappointing taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with them starting SummerSlam. My big issue was the match itself. It was really no build to the submission match. It was one of those things that was just kind of Natty said it in passing, and then 6 days later they're like, cool, let's add this. Well, it was 6 days out from SummerSlam, and you kind of got what you got. I thought the stipulation of the match fell flat because they didn't highlight it enough. You're right. They didn't do enough submissions. They didn't do enough different types of submissions. And in the end, it just kind of was what it was. I'm not sure what they're doing with Becky Lynch's character. She did such a fantastic job, and she was so hot for so long, and she really has cooled off. And I'm not sure how you get her amped back up or how you get her revved back up, but WWE has to figure something out. They've got to do something because she's your champion. She is your more over women's champion. You know, she's bigger than Bayley. I think she is hotter than Charlotte is right now. And if you start going through the pecking order of the women, I don't think there's really anybody who kind of stands or holds a torch to her. So all that being said, you got to figure something out for her, or you got to put her in a meaningful feud. You got to do something because you haven't done anything with her, and she's carrying these feuds, and they're falling flat.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt about it. Did you like the Goldberg scenario in which he comes down, handles his business like we predicted?
Yep.
He did take a super kick, which was cool. He took his bump, so that made the event look good, made the match a little better. But then after the match, you had kind of Dolph Ziggler talking shit a little bit and taunting Goldberg, which resulted in 2 more appearances coming back down for more spears and more jackhammers. In terms of how it played out, I think they played it up just one time too many. He should have just came back once, did it, and then maybe even cut a promo. I think that would have maybe added more flair because Bill Goldberg's the man. He just handles Dolph Ziggler, and I think it would have been perfect. He grabs the mic, and he's like, that's why you're always going to be a mid-carder. Drop the mic and walk off. Or he can go, that's why you'll never be on my level. Or he could say something of a taunting nature to really, really rub it in to Dolph Ziggler. Just coming back and destroying Dolph left me wanting more.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think this is what you're going to see with Bill Goldberg going forward. He's going to be this Bruno Sammartino character where he kind of rides in on his white steed, does the job, and then he's out. You know, he's going to have quick matches like this, and this isn't going to be the only one. He will have a few more like this, so be prepared for that. I didn't think the match was put together well at all. I really didn't like it. But all that being said, I get what they were doing, right? Like you can't have Goldberg go in a long match. It's been shown time in and time out, right? It just doesn't work. And then with Ziggler, there really wasn't a build here. I mean, for a couple weeks, Ziggler mentioned Goldberg in a couple promos, but that was like all you got. That was all you really had. And then you just kind of you end up having this match, and it's what it is. You know, you're gonna have one of these squash matches on almost every WWE pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
So this was it. This is what it was.
Exactly. And there's a couple guys on the roster like Elias and Dolph Ziggler who from time to time will put over legends. I mean, it was cool to see Edge in the pre-show. I thought Elias masterfully trolled the Toronto fans by saying, you know I hate this place is I can't wait to join my friend Kawhi Leonard in Los Angeles. The crowd booed. It was perfect. It was the awesome heel playing the heel and doing the great work. And then Edge music hits and the place erupted. So guys like Elias, guys like Dolph Ziggler are the guys that at the end of the day, they talk a lot of junk, but then sometimes, you got to have the heel kind of take it from the face. And Bill Goldberg, I think it was fine. Like I said, I just think it could have been enhanced. And yeah, Goldberg, look, because to this day, he's still over. He's still a guy that gets a lot of loud ovations and people want to see him. So I think he's got 1 or 2 more in him, and good for him. And look, for those that say, why are you bringing back so many legends? At the end of the day, we like to see them. I like to see when Shawn Michaels is out there. Every week? No. Periodically at a SummerSlam, at a WrestleMania, at one of the big 4, that's the prime opportunity to do it. So I have no problem with it. I thought it was good. Now, let's talk about the main event. Let's get into it because you and I were both wrong. We both thought that, okay, going into Fox, going into the fall, it would probably be the best decision to keep the belt on Brock and maybe even extend the feud out. But in essence, the way that it played out really goes to show you that, maybe we are a little bit hard on Brock Lesnar in that when he does show up, when he does decide and is willing to work with the guy, man, Brock made Seth Rollins look good. And Seth Rollins executed the way the story was told, is that, hey, I withstood everything that Brock Lesnar gave to me. And Brock Lesnar did the work. He did the job. He put someone over clean, which doesn't happen too many times. And I know people will say, look, Brock is lazy. He only does this once in a while. He's not available. But at the end of the day, if you have a guy like Brock Lesnar, he can make stars. And the way in which it was portrayed was fine. Seth Rollins comes away looking stronger. And I hope that his character can take that next step. Because going into it, none of us thought that, we really don't care. We can debate whether Seth Rollins should be the guy. But clearly, in the last 2 years, they've set up Seth Rollins to be the guy. And after a match like that, it's great. I think for a guy like Seth Rollins, he should do less promos. It's just show up, wrestle, tell the story. You are one of the 3 best wrestlers in that company. The problem is every time he talks, he just doesn't portray the legend. And that's what you need to be a legend. But at the end of the day, dude can wrestle. And dude can make matches great. And he deserved to be in the main event with Brock Lesnar. Brock did the job, and it was a great match. All in all, I liked it. I liked the work rate. I liked the fact that Seth Rollins took suplexes and landed on his feet. You had that false finish right away where Brock took the stirrup comp, where Brock took the curb stomp and then got out of it, so that kind of added intrigue. At the end of the day, Seth Rollins is the Universal Champ, and he should get an extended run. They just got to work on who is delivering the message for him, because just the way his voice is, what he delivers, he just doesn't sound like a marquee talker. At the end of the day, if you're not a marquee talker, just go out there, take your accolades, wrestle, and just keep it short. Who's next? Who's going to come in here and try and test me? Who's going to try and work to be the best ever? You guys are not there. I'm it. And kudos to Brock Lesnar and Seth. The way in which the story culminated was worthy of a SummerSlam main event.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was awesome. I think that was the highlight of SummerSlam, really and truly, was Brock Lesnar putting over Seth Rollins. Very rarely do we ever get to talk about Brock Lesnar helping make a guy, right? And Seth Rollins is already pretty made. But this goes on to solidify and cement what Seth Rollins is, right? He just beat Brock Lesnar. He took suplexes, he took F5s, he took it all and was able to come out the champion. I thought it was a good match. I thought it was probably, arguably, one of the top 2, maybe the top 3 matches on this card. And I think it lived up to the hype. I thought it was great. It was nice to see Brock Lesnar do the job for somebody. You know, it's the one thing I hammer Brock Lesnar on all the time, is he doesn't do the job for anybody ever. Well, you know what? He just did it. He just made me eat my words. So I thought this was awesome. I thought this was great. I thought it was fantastic to see. I loved it.
Yeah, everyone did. I think everyone is happy that Seth Rollins now is the champ. So you have to legitimize it by letting him keep the belt at least until the Rumble. Let him have some competitors. Let's get some new feuds. Maybe even from time to time, maybe Brock peeks in, but nobody wants to see Brock and Seth anymore. It should be the culmination of that story for the time being, and let Seth enjoy this run. Let him continue to be the best wrestler in the WWE. Maybe revisit feuds with AJ Styles, maybe visit feuds with Drew McIntyre, visit some great feuds with Samoa Joe. You have a plethora of talent that can rise up and challenge Seth Rollins. So let him do it. Just like you said, hide his weaknesses. Just don't let him get on the mic and do extended promos. Just a couple words here and there, and let him get in the ring, because of the fact that, hey, really at the end of the day, do you really remember many of Bret Hart's promos? No. You don't remember any real significant taglines and things like that. You know Bret Hart for being the excellence of execution, great matches, great memories. So a guy like Seth Rollins can be that guy. He's a workhorse. He'll be the guy, and let's put him in some interesting stories, and let's see what happens. But I think it's fine. You agree, right? Seth can be the face of the company for a good 6 months, right?
Oh, absolutely. Even longer than that. Seth Rollins is a great wrestler. He really is. You're right. His promos are sometimes robotic. And sometimes that takes away from his character.
Yep.
But otherwise, when he's in the ring, he's awesome. He really is. So so here's the thing, right? You go back to the Shield, and you look at the Shield, and everybody in the Shield had something, right? They all had something. Dean Ambrose could cut great promos. He was exceptional on the mic. Roman Reigns had the look, right? And Seth Rollins basically had the body, you know? So you had these three guys who could all do a little bit of something, right? It was hard to kind of break them up to see what they could do individually. And when you did that, you've seen that they were kind of lacking in certain areas. Like Dean Ambrose threw horrible punches in the ring. His punches were god awful. You could tell that he pulled them all, right? Seth Rollins sounds like a robot on the mic. Same thing with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns sounds horrible on the mic. Usually, it seems as though he's worked on that, or they're giving him more creativity to kind of talk as he normally would talk. But it was one of those things. And then you had Roman Reigns, who had a very limited move set, where Seth Rollins had a expansive move set. So you had these three guys who together, they were much stronger. Individually, they struggled a little bit. And Seth Rollins is working through, I guess, that the issues he has on the microphone. But you're right. He can carry the company. He can be your face. He is good enough. You just have to stop giving him corny ass lines to read.
No doubt about it. Now, one quick note to wrap up Bray Wyatt. When he continues to wrestle, should he play this character being like torn? Should he wrestle with the mask on, or should he, every time he steps in the ring, wear that mask?
When he wrestles, I think he should wear the mask. When he
is doing the promos, he can be Bray Wyatt.
Because there's something to be said about him going back and forth with himself that I think is great. I think it's awesome. I think everybody enjoys it. I think it's fun. I think it's good. But as far as him in the ring, I think he needs to wear it. It's just, for me, it makes more sense. I think it's more captivating. I think it's more appealing. Do you not agree that he's more interesting when he has that mask on? Yeah,
it's a great prop. It's interesting, freaky, and man, what a character! What a character the WWE has developed and cultivated, and Bray Wyatt has to carry it through. I can't wait to see maybe even right away The Fiend and Seth Rollins. Why not go right to the top, man? That'd be interesting.
Would be good.
You know what? Especially around the time of Survivor Series.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, if Seth's going to lose it early, the next challenger probably should be Bray Wyatt. No doubt. The Fiend has to take over, has to terrorize the WWE, man. It's going to be crazy. Oh, I want to give credit to NXT, all the performers there. Again, a lot of A+ matches, a lot of great quality content. And man, if you only watch one match the entire weekend, probably the main event, Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, but a very, 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 very close second is Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole 3. It was great storytelling. Obviously, Johnny Gargano is going to come to the main roster. Maybe by the time this drops, Gargano will have debuted on either Raw or SmackDown, and in the future weeks, we'll talk about his role and what he's going to contribute. Maybe this go-round will be better than the last go-round, but that match was quality. Look, the NXT brand continues to put out great shows, and if you can only watch one show a weekend in the big moments, NXT is worth it. You can watch it and really enjoy some quality wrestling, great storytelling, and each match is given time. So NXT in and of itself is a great brand. So all kudos and credit to the wrestlers there. It was great. So it was all in all a good weekend for the WWE. I'm not going to lie, and for you and I tied in our predictions. We both got a lot of them right, but a couple of them wrong. And at the end of the day, we tied. And so I'm still in the lead. I'm the predicting champ at the moment with 11.5. You have 11. So to finish the podcast, what you got for this week's professional wrestling news and notes?
So since we're recording a little bit early, I really only have one significant note, and that has to do with SmackDown moving to Fox on October 4th. So on October 4th, WWE will host their 20th anniversary of SmackDown. It'll be a reunion show, similar to what they did with Raw. So this is going to be a huge show for the Fox network and for WWE.
Huge ratings. That's smart. Yep.
Yes, exactly. And at this show, you will have the likes of The Undertaker, Sting, Kurt Angle, Lita, Mick Foley, Booker T, Hulk Hogan, Trish Stratus, Goldberg, Jerry the King Lawler, Mark Henry, Ric Flair, as well as Daniel Bryan, Charlotte Flair, Asuka, Roman Reigns, Kofi Kingston as well. All these people are supposed to be at this show. So a massive, massive show for Fox to kick off their SmackDown run.
Ooh, what a week. You'll have Monday Night Raw. You'll have Wednesday, the debut of AEW, and then that Friday, the debut of SmackDown on Fox. Oh my God, that week's going to be awesome for content.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy stuff. Man, thank you so much, cuz. I enjoyed doing this podcast. Love breaking down wrestling. Love watching the shows with you. At the same time, we can also chat during these live wrestling events via the Flick Chat application, a great sponsor of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. What are we talking about? Flick is a group chat application where you can go and download it very easily. And once you join the Detroit Sports headquarters, then you're in the mix. You can create your own forums. You can talk with Detroit sports fans. You can talk with other professional wrestling fans. And it's a great way to engage, keep the conversation going. If you agreed or disagreed with anything that we said on today's podcast, you can let us know. You can create your own forum. Mike Putty does a great job. He's into fantasy football. He created a forum, and now there's an avenue for us to talk there. Definitely during Raw, SmackDown, AEW shows, we're definitely in the mix there, and we're enjoying the conversation. Also, friend of the podcast, Dennis Farrell, doing great work with the Wrestling with Sports podcast and the Wrestling Perspective podcast. Give Dennis a follow at Dennis77Farrell, and definitely check regularly to our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast for when his Wrestling Perspective podcast airs. It's really great. Him and Petey Williams do a great job, great interviews. They break down all the happenings that impact wrestling, and they give and provide solid wrestling takes with the other organizations. It's real good content. Otherwise, it would not show up on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Thanks, cuz. Look forward to a great week of wrestling next week. Going to be on vacation for a week, so anything major, definitely hit me up.
Absolutely. And you know what? Enjoy your vacation. Enjoy the sun.
See everybody next week. We'll talk soon.